Could you speak to, you said that you learned how to practice properly, and that's what put you from, like, a plateau level to the next level. What were
Mhm.
your pain points along the way in going from, a low-level shooter or someone that just was starting to rising through the ranks? Were there pain points along the way? How did you overcome those? And
Sure.
what do you mean by practicing properly?
So pain points along the way. Let me hit on that point first. So everybody in their journey as a shooter, whether you're a competitive shooter, whether you're a defender, any of those things, right? You come to a certain point where you plateau, where you just feel like, man, I'm doing dry fire. I'm shooting at practice and I'm doing these things and I'm making progress until like you just kind of feel like you plateau out. And everybody kind of knows
Mhm.
what that plateau is. It's just like, man, I mean, for each person, it's a little bit different, right? It's just like, man, I don't know how to I don't know how to get past where I'm at. Like I've reached this ceiling and I can't seem to move past it.
Mhm.
And there were many times throughout just like learning how to be a better competitive shooter where I was just like, man, I can't seem to break this particular plateau, whether it
Mhm.
was like draw to a first shot or whether it's any particular drill, something I may be working on
Reloads.
for
Yeah.
a number of weeks or months or days or whatever the case may be, where I was just like, I can't seem to get out of my own way. And that's pretty much what a
Yeah.
plateau is. What
Yeah.
I tell folks regarding plateaus is like we look at plateaus as like they're ceilings, right? They're keeping me away from being able to see my true potential. But I look at also plateaus as a way of saying like, okay, it's your opportunity to kind of stop and reassess and maybe like smell the roses, like be able to stop and assess where you came from, how far you've come, and then be able to kind of also then like maybe turn the page on the roadmap and figure out where you want to go next. So plateaus
Mhm.
aren't necessarily bad. I used to think plateaus were terrible because I hated kind of falling into that stop where I was just, I can't continue to progress.
Mhm.
And for me, a lot of it was bad practice habits. I would go to the range and I would shoot and I would think that like I'm getting better simply because I'm putting a ton of rounds downrange. I think in the year 2012 through 2013, I shot someplace in the neighborhood of between 50 and 60,000 rounds in both of those years, not collectively. That was like 55,000 rounds in 2012, and I think I shot almost 60,000 rounds in 2013 with no real measurable progression. But
Wow.
I was doing all the things I was supposed to, right? Everything that the
Right.
books were telling me to do. Dry
Mhm.
fire every day, handle the gun for an hour or 2 hours every day, go to the range 3 times a week,
So
shoot
what
live.
was missing?
What's that?
What was missing? The thoughtfulness behind it?
I think a lot of it, yeah, purposefulness, right? Like
Oh,
I'm going through the motions, but I didn't really have a purpose. I didn't have a
oh.
plan, and I wasn't observant in what I was truly doing. So, and I think a lot of folks, and probably a lot of listeners, kind of looking at the list of comments there on the StreamYard, some of the folks and some of the names I see are very familiar, and I know that they have also kind of felt or experienced the same thing. And it's like, well, I'm going through the motions. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So and so came out with the drill of the week or drill of the month, and I'm gonna do that. But then they're just not making the progress they want. And a lot of it is you're in it for the wrong reasons. You know,
Mm.
you you're in it with a goal in mind, but you don't have a plan on how to reach that goal. And
Mhm.
that's where practice with purpose comes from. So in 2000, the end of 2012, early of 2013, I took my first like big formal 3-day class where I traveled, a couple of states away to go take a class with a known instructor. And that guy for me was Mike Seeklander.
Mm.
And Mike has been and will be forever one of my most treasured, kind of friendships as well as mentorships that I've ever had with anybody.
Mhm.
And the thing I got from Mike over 3 days of intense training with him was he's like, man, you're fast. And man, you can do this well, but you can't do this and this together well because you've not really sought out a purpose and how to put like all the pieces of the puzzle together. And so, like the biggest thing I took away from Mike was like having a plan and having a
Mm.
purpose for that plan and
Mhm.
being focused in your practice. Like there is such a thing as overtraining or just
Mhm.
going through motions and not really paying attention to all of the little things.
Right.
And that class for me was like that was the turning point. So I was
Mhm.
at the time I was a USPSA B class shooter and with aspirations of just making like A class. I was like, man, if I could make A class, I will feel I am I'm worthy, right?
Yeah.
And throughout 2013, that year, I kind of put an action plan, kind of his thought process and action plan into kind of my practice. And I started practicing with a purpose. And so every drill, every exercise, I want to spend X amount of time doing it, X amount of reps doing it, but I want 100% mental and emotional focus on
Mm.
what I'm doing to learn and understand better why things are breaking down the way they are or how I'm progressing the way I'm progressing, right? And
Mhm.
so throughout the course of like the next 6 months, throughout that season of 2013, I went from B class and jumped right past A and made class in USPSA. And so
Wow.
I am almost kind of like just by pure happenstance. And it was a lot of it was just because I had clear cut goals and I had a roadmap. Like I had created a roadmap for myself. I
Yeah.
want to do this. And once I achieve that, then I'm going to do this. And once I achieve that, then I'm going to blend these two things together to achieve this other thing. Right.
Mhm.
Goal
Mhm.
setting is a big part of it. And having the mental fortitude to stay focused and to stay 100% purposeful in what you're doing.
That's really good. Really good.